You are now listening to the Minority Trailblazer Podcast. Season 2, new intro, let the story begin.
One time for the lovers, 2 times for the ladies, 3 times for the brothers, 4 times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 1 time for the lovers, 2 times for the ladies, 3 times for the brothers, 4 times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 Brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. Brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. She my brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. She my brown skin, love her brown skin. Hold me down.
I love that intro, man. I just get mesmerized every time I hear it. So I want to make sure I shout out Laka Shaw. He is an artist out of DC that has provided this intro for all of season 2. So make sure you show him some love on Instagram, first name Laka, Twitter, first name Laka, for providing that fire. Brown Skin Lover, that's the name of the track. You can see it on SoundCloud, YouTube. Phenomenal. Man, I'm pumped. I'm excited. It's another episode. We episode 40. Like, seriously, right now, we have 40 episodes in. I never thought we would see 40 episodes, but we're 40 episodes in. So I'm pumped up. I'm excited. And most importantly, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for you, for listening, for continuing to come in each and every week, for the tweets, the emails, the Facebook messages, the LinkedIn messages of all the support, and especially with those that have been here since day one. And I really appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. It all started, and I was a guy with a dream. I had a network of individuals that I thought could provide value, and I wanted to create a platform and a resource so they can share their stories. And now it's beginning to evolve, and it's something a lot more major. I mean, we passed 60,000 downloads. I mean, we're getting each and every week. It's like the snowball effect. More people are tuning in. More people are listening. More people are leaving reviews, and more people are encouraged about the content that our guests have been able to give, especially in a time where our culture where, for some reason, there's a lot going on. That's all I got to say. As Vic Mensa would say, there's a lot going on, and we just are continue to stay in this positive space and showcase those that are bringing light. And honestly, it's sad because I get emails every day from people that want to be featured on the show, and I can't feature everybody because I only have so much time. We only do it once a week, but there's so many people that are doing encouraging work out there. So I thank each and every guy for sacrificing an hour and sometimes 2 hours. I know y'all was like, yo, G, you pushing it now, dog. You done did 2-hour podcast. Like, what is that? But seriously, I mean, I've gotten great reviews from that. It went many viral. So shout out to Jamaica, United Kingdom, Canada, and of course, United States for holding it down and making that already our 3rd most listened to podcast, which shows the power of engaging content and real conversations. Who listens to 2-hour podcasts? And I mean, I was getting emails like, yo, G, I looked at that 2 hours and I was like, bro, I really ain't feeling it. But then they listened to the podcast, it was like, yo, that was dope. That was dope. That was dope. So I appreciate that. And before I get into it, I want to read a couple reviews from a couple people. Taz0706. Greg Hill has done an amazing job with highlighting the trials and successes of entrepreneurs and those working in corporate America. This podcast really showcases the realities and the struggles to get to the top, but are also very encouraging. It leaves you feeling like you can accomplish anything. Thank you for putting this together. I tell everyone I know about your podcast. Thanks so much, Taz. I really do appreciate it. Cool Chick, 19,000 or 190,000. Greg E. Hill has such enthusiasm and sincerity and is positively impacting minority culture. The interviews are impressive and inspiring. I look forward to each new podcast. Ooh, thank you, Cool Chick. Y'all make my day. Lady B Dove, great podcast. Love that it highlights the accomplishments of young African Americans. It inspires me to want to do more. This podcast shines the light on positive things that are happening within our culture, showing proof to people young and old that we are people of greatness. Keep up the good work. P.S. I love your intro. I usually play it 3 times before I let the podcast play. I want to play it in my wedding reception one day. And the last one, my modern medicine. Just knowing that someone out there mirrors my ideals has been an immense benefit. Just waiting for there to be someone from the healthcare sector. I love that. I got you. Don't worry, I got you. We're gonna get there. I thank y'all for bearing with me because we've had a lot of successes, and I read a lot of the feedback on the reviews, and I appreciate it. But I am aware we have a long way to go. At some point, sometimes our quality can be hit or miss at times, but I am aware we have a long way to go as far as even in our quality, even in the format and the framework that I do the interviews. Because sometimes I get a little bit excited and I just be jumping everywhere. So I want to work on the structure. And there's other things, but I know you have questions that need to be answered or you would like answered by some of the guests we have on our show. So please be aware that I am making note of some changes. And as we progress into season 3, I look forward to ensuring a couple new changes and whatnot. So thank you so much for your feedback in those arenas. And honestly, if you think you can add value to the podcast, whether help with the production of it, help with scheduling guests, help with the graphics, help with promotion, whatever, send me an email, greg@greggyhill.com. I really appreciate the help. I'm really working on building a team specifically for just a podcast so we can take this thing to a whole new level. I know I can't do it alone, especially I'm doing this for free. I still don't got no sponsors for this. So if you're a mid-sized business or corporate entity, you want to get sponsored on this platform, hit me up too, greg@greggyhill.com. I had to plug. So before I begin, because I don't want y'all to forget this episode right here. I know I always say it, but this is going to be a classic because this young lady is the epitome of overcoming obstacles, the epitome of betting on yourself, the epitome of taking nothing and pushing it and making something. And I don't know how we met, but all I know is that people on my show kept referencing her as somebody they look up to. And I was like, yo, who is this girl? And I looked online, I finally found her, and I was like, yo, she's doing some great things in this space. And the space that I'm talking about, this is brand strategy, it's coaching, it's helping entrepreneurs out there make more money, increase their brand, and make products, make courses, make things to drive revenue and to monetize their knowledge. So basically, long story short, she makes somebody that's maybe unsure of themselves, but knows something, say if it's about carpentry or say if it's about being a podcast or an author, and she works with them how to create products online, whether it's ebooks, whether it's courses, whether it's coaching, whatever, to take their brand to the next level monetarily and from a visual perspective. Like, it's crazy. And y'all hip if y'all read the podcast. You know there's a billion cats online that have these taglines with all these things that they promised to do, or they made $100,000 in 1 hour. Here's how. And I was kind of skeptical, but once I looked at to see the continued engagement from her audience and the level of respect they show for her, the income report she publishes, I was like, yo, she is the real deal. And reading her blog, the realness in her blog through the trials, but also the successes of her launches and the people that she's worked with, I was like, yo, I have to have her on the show. So let me read a snippet of her intro, and then we're going to get into it. So she is a branding strategist, coach, and speaker that teaches creative business owners how to create magnetic content and irresistible products that will get them noticed and paid online. Paid online. She is the content curator behind MayaElious.com, where she shares hundreds of blog posts and resources for solopreneurs looking for clarity and strategy to build a profitable brand. For short, she helps cats make money. And when she's not helping her clients build a digital empire, she can be found watching Netflix and, unfortunately, eating pizza. Hopefully that's gluten-free. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce Maya Elious to the Minority Trailblazer podcast. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Greg. You are so silly.
Nah, man. I'm pumped up really because I think I'll be able to add a lot of value because I was just looking at questions, different ways I wanted to tag this interview. And I was like, yo, she knows freaking a lot of stuff. And everybody knows the way we operate the show, we have 3 different sections. We have the beginning. We have how they got started and their background. Then we have the present day. Like, what does it look like today? actionable advice for those that are looking to get in that industry. And then at the end, we have the future round. We talk about the future because at the end of the day, if you don't try to look at the future, then your present is going to be in. All right. So we always start the show off with a quote. And because I'm a big quote guy, everybody knows me. I send a quote to like 170 people every morning. And I'm doing the last couple of years. So Miss Elious, Miss Maya, please share with our audience a quote that you live by and a story on how you apply that quote to your everyday life.
Oh, man. Well, first of all, I definitely need to get on this list of people that you're sending quotes out to, because then I possibly would have been more prepared to have a quote. A quote that I like is, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, wait until you hire an amateur. So it's not something that I necessarily live by, but it's something that I really like, because it's really important to me that people invest in themselves and invest in their business. And I think a lot of people try to take the shortcut and the easy way, and then they end up costing themselves more time, money, and energy instead of just doing it right the first time. So I really like that quote.
Amen. So can you share a story about maybe how a time that quote applied to a situation that you were dealing with?
Yeah, sure. So it's applied to me if I've ever tried to take a shortcut, or if somebody's ever tried to take a shortcut before hiring me. So usually when people eventually kind of like break down and make that investment with working with me as their coach, they tell me about all of the other things that they have tried before, just buying like little ebooks or just reading blog posts for years, or just, trying to take the shortcut into starting their business instead of just making that investment to get the proper education. So that's an example. And maybe if I've ever tried to take a shortcut with, I'll relate it back to fitness. So instead of just kind of putting aside a budget and trying to make sure that I properly meal prep and meal plan, I end up actually spending more money eating out instead of just kind of being disciplined with being healthy and going to the gym and stuff like that. So that's an example on my end.
Yeah, nah. I've been telling a lot of people, if you can afford it, like if you really on this fitness tip and you can afford it, just get you a trainer and get you like somebody like an intermediate, not an expert level chef, but an intermediate person that can help you create those meals, because you have that trainer there. You see him every other day grinding, and you around his other people that are getting it in. I mean, you're encouraged and inspired first because you're paying a lot. Like, man, I had a trainer. It was like $250 a month. I like that, like $250 a month. And I was going 3 times a week and working out with 10 people. And I was like, oh, how much is this dude making? But I was in the best shape of my life because I knew I had to show up, and there was other people out there getting it. So invest in yourself. Okay.
Yeah. And I will say, if nothing else, that investment is accountability enough sometimes, because when you see that money drafted from your account, that definitely makes you want to get up and put in some work.
Now you got to. So let's open up with can you share with our audience a little bit about yourself, your background, and where you come from?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you guys already know, my name is Maya Elious, and I am the daughter of 2 West African parents. So my sister and I are both first generation American, and my parents came to this country obviously for a better life from Liberia in West Africa. And I've pretty much always liked designing pretty things on the internet. So that's kind of how I got started. When I was 18, I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, because my dad had received a job there. So after I graduated, I went to community college there, and I was really into making MySpace pages. I thought it was so fun. So I met this guy, and he asked me if I knew how to make professional and custom MySpace pages. And then he offered me $50 to make one. And I just thought it was the coolest thing to make money doing something that I really enjoyed and was already doing for free, already doing for fun. So that's pretty much how I started making money on the internet. Back in 2008, I was 18 years old, and I was just like, wow, this is so cool. So And back then, like, I didn't even think of myself as an entrepreneur. I was just like, oh, making money. So obviously I wasn't doing anything right, like setting up an LLC or doing taxes. I didn't even start any of that stuff until like a couple years ago. So that's pretty much where I started. A lot of my clients were people from like the reality VH1 shows, like For the Love of Ray J and Real Chance of Love, which is just hilarious. And then I realized, I really wanted to take this seriously. I started telling people I was a web designer before I had ever built a website, just because I knew a little bit of coding from MySpace. And then this lady from Houston, her name was Ayana Mack. She was a radio host, which I thought was the coolest thing. She gave me like $300 or $400 to build her website. And then I was like, dang, now I really have to actually figure out how to build a website. So I went on YouTube and I figured it out. I built her a website in maybe like a week or two, which was really interesting and fun to learn. And that's pretty much how I started. And then when I transitioned and actually started getting better as a business owner, learning who my audience was, learning what they needed from me, increasing my value, increasing my prices, I decided that I wanted to drop out of college. And that was definitely like the scariest moment of my life, because I mean, if any of you guys listening know or have friends that have African parents, you know that is definitely not in their goals for their children. So, you know, African parents want you to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, work a great government job, work a great corporate job. So that was definitely really, really scary for me. But I mean, that's pretty much like my humble beginnings. And then once I dropped out, then my business grew, of course. But that's just kind of summarizing how I started.
Oh man, that's phenomenal. Because I know for our longtime listeners, or the first episode of season 2, we had Ngazio Power, CEO of He Free Hair on the show, and she shared same story. Like when she went to A&T, her parents disowned her because her family like was on that Ivy League tip, boom, whoop, and she went to A&T. Her father didn't talk to her for 4 years because she's from Nigeria.
Gosh,
like for 4 years because she went to A&T. And first of all, I get proud, but she went to A&T in 4 years. So I can only imagine when you dropped before you even graduated college, dropped out. But what made you say that wasn't for you though? Because that's unique. I think you're one of the first people on the show that has thrived in their business and really doesn't have didn't graduate from college. So at that time, what was going through your head at that time?
Oh man, during that time, to be completely honest, there was like a lot of anxiety during that time because I was trying to do well in college and please my parents while also trying to balance my business, which was the priority in my life. So honestly, just trying to please other people can be very, very stressful. And I wasn't pleasing my parents because I wasn't even doing well in college. So I was going to classes, but I wasn't doing well because I was not good at it. So during that time, I was just like, man, I have to pick one. I'm not going to be able to succeed in one or the other trying to do both. Like it just wasn't for me because I needed to give 100% of my energy to one instead of 50% to both. So I remember one day I went to class, and I had asked all of my teachers, would I be able to take my test early or later because I had to go out of town for business. And I went to my matrices class, which is just like, what is even matrices? Yeah. Every time I tell this story, people are like, what is matrices? And I'm like, this is exactly why I dropped out, because it's like, really, what is matrices? So I go to class and I tell my instructor that I have to go out of town. Can I take my test early or when I get back? And he's like, no, you're just going to have to take a 0 on this test and hope that your next test score is good enough to replace it. And when he told me that, I just left and I never went back as a student. I went back to speak, but I never went back as a student because I was just like, I don't want to be in an environment where I'm paying people and they do not care for me to succeed. Like they don't prioritize. They're not allowing me to prioritize what's important to me. So they would rather just see me fail. So I was like, I'm not doing this. And I'm the person that's going to be in debt for college. So I was just like, I don't even care anymore.
Amen. So conversely, how do you think that has affected you, like going forward, navigating the world in this space as a entrepreneur and some of the stigma attached? Like how you've been able to grow? I know this is a loaded question and we'll talk through it throughout the show, but just, I guess, real short, like, cause I know there's a stigma attached, especially if you're African American. Oh, go to college. And if you don't go to college, then, and you're not an athlete, it's like, oh, so what are you going to do? So how have you been able to kind of get through that mental barrier and flourish so far?
To be honest, a lot of people are more so inspired by what I did instead of put off by what I did, because I think a lot of people, they have something that they want to do and that they're really passionate about, but they're holding on to that comfort zone of pleasing other people and getting approval from other people. And they look at somebody that's young and Black like me, and they're just like, wow, like that's dope. Like the most important people in her life, she kind of let go of that approval and went after what she wanted to go after. So to be honest, a lot of people have really been supportive, and what gave you the courage to do that, and how do you do this, how do you do that? So it's been pretty amazing. And it's interesting because I had written a blog post about dropping out of college, and my dad was like, why do you always tell people that you drop out of college? Like, I think he was embarrassed by the fact that I was so open about it and that I wasn't embarrassed about it. And I was like, this is my story. Like, I'm not going to be hiding my truth just because it may make other people uncomfortable.
That's deep. That really is. That really is. That really is. So what was your first like aha moment in business where you said, I can really make a living doing this? Because I know some of us are dibbying and dabbing in certain hobbies and certain things. And we're like, okay, so did the switch ever go off to be like, yo, I can really make a real living? Not to say 5,000-10,000 is not bad, but you can't live off that for a whole year. So what did you say have the confidence to be like, yo, what was that exact moment of that story when you had that?
Man, I don't really know if there was like a switch where I was like, yes, entrepreneurship is the right choice for me. It was just like, it just felt right. I was like, this is what I do. This is what I love. I'm excellent at it, and I'm willing to put in the work. And I'm very much so a self-starter when it comes to business. So there's really never work that's too hard that I'm not willing to do. So I knew, dropping out of college was a huge decision, and that meant I was going to have to work harder, but that really didn't faze me. Knowing how much work I was going to have to put in didn't faze me. So it wasn't necessarily a switch like, I know I can make this amount of money. It was just like, I know I'll be able to put in the work and educate myself enough to succeed.
Perfect. And I know you have transitioned over the last couple of years into more so creating online courses, coaching, speaking, and matter. But you got your first start in graphic design. I don't want to discredit. It's a graphic design, right?
Yeah, web and graphic design.
And graphic design. So before we get to kind of what you do now, how did you start off and actually once your first couple years out of college in that web and graphic design space and get clients and get your name out there in the industry?
It's always so funny thinking back, because sometimes I forget all of the things that I've done. Because I had even like run this online magazine called Charlotte Exposed, which was a complete knockoff off of ATL Exposed. So I was always in clubs taking photos. People would always go on my website. So I was very visible in Charlotte. I was always connecting with local artists. Like, I've always really connected with people that were very talented but didn't know how to get on. And so that's always really been my thing, whether it was web or graphic design or coaching or online courses. So I've just always found a way to make myself visible, whether I'm inside of a club taking pictures or just having meetings with people, or just getting to know people online. So I always connected with people and built relationships with people. And then a lot of my business, when I was a web and graphic designer, was word of mouth, just because I built so many excellent relationships.
And what was that moment where you said, okay, when you transitioned from web and graphic design into saying, I want to do more and I have more to offer to this space?
Oh man. So doing that transition was definitely the second scariest thing. So I feel like the first scariest thing I've done was drop out of college and having to tell my parents. And the second thing was letting my clients know I'm not going to be doing web and graphic design anymore. I decided to make that transition because I realized that a lot of my clients and people were seeking advice from me on what should I put on my website? What should I write on there? How can I get more people to come to my website? So they weren't even so much interested in only the design aspect. They were interested in the strategy. And I found a lot of people wanted to hop on calls with me and talk about that. And I don't like being on the phone, and I don't like attending meetings that I am not getting paid for. So I was like, this is doing too much. I need to put a price tag on it, see who's willing to pay, and kind of just go from there. And then I started blogging, of course. I wanted people to get familiar with me as an expert in branding instead of just a designer. And then I created like an online membership. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing, but I was like, let me just try it out and kind of see who's interested. So I put a price out there. I think when I started, I was maybe like $75 an hour for consulting, and people bought it, and I worked with people one-on-one. So I was like, I really, really enjoy this. I want people to get results. And I think me educating them is going to help.
So what level, when you first jumped out online, what level were you at as far as on social media and just in general to say, have that confidence to be like, I have real followers that really pay me or whatnot? Or was it just you kind of leaping out on faith, and then once you did that and you put that out there to the atmosphere, everybody was like, oh shit, we'll pay you, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm very much so the type of person that just puts myself out there. I'm not like, oh, I don't have enough followers. Because I think maybe on Twitter, I had like 2,000 followers, possibly when I started doing that. I just kind of like to do it. Like, I'm not really afraid of failure. I'm just like, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I like to really test myself to see how far I can go and who's going to gravitate towards what I put out into the universe. So it was just kind of like, I felt confident that I could, do one-on-one consulting with people, and it just kind of happened. So
Oh man, that's fantastic. And what would you say, because I know you've been in the game for a little while, so we're about to ask some more intense questions. Like, what do you think is the difference between a pro and an amateur as far as in this online space, which is every single day is getting more crowded and more crowded with a lot of noise?
Yeah, I definitely think that the difference between like an amateur and an expert is that experts are very clear and aware of what they do know and what they don't know. And they don't try to claim to know everything. They're just really focused on what it is that they do know. And I also feel like when you're an expert, you know so much on your topic that you can give away free information and still have stuff left over to sell. And that's why I think blogging is so important, because it allows you to showcase your expertise and start building trust with people. I could literally talk about branding all day long and still have stuff left over to sell you on branding. So I just think it's about being really well versed in what it is that you're passionate about, what it is that you are good in, and then also just feeling confident in it. I think a lot of amateurs, so to speak, it's just kind of like an idea that they like, but they're too scared to take action, or not willing enough to continue educating themselves on a specific topic.
And I know you weren't always a pro. So when you were in your, I guess I want to call you amateur phase, when you're in your beginning phase, what are some things that you did specifically, or whether that's conferences or just getting out there to make that transition into the pros?
Yeah, I was definitely an amateur. Like, when I look back on some of my work, I'm like, girl, you were way too confident for what you had going on. Honestly, educating myself. Like, it's just crazy because I value education so much. Like, even as a college dropout, I think for me, I just like to be educated on things that matter to me. So I listened to a lot of podcasts starting out. I read a lot of ebooks. I read a lot of blog posts. I attended a lot of webinars. Those things were really important to me. I was just so passionate about becoming better that I wanted to learn about it all of the time, and not only learn about it, but actually apply it to my business. And I think that also separates amateurs from experts, because people can read information all day, but if you're not applying it, then you're really not going to get any results.
I love that. And thus far, like, what is some have been the best resources for growing your brand? Because the biggest thing I see with your follow, the people that follow you and listen, they're engaged. Because I know a lot of people out here with tens of thousands of followers on different social media platforms, but you go to their blogs, there's no comments. You look on their Twitter, there's no really engagement. And it's hard to, first of all, it's hard to get engagement on Twitter anyways, but there's no really engagement. But you seem to have a broad array of people, not only African American, but from all different ethnicities, from backgrounds, that not only look at your talent, but they're comment, they're engaging, and they're working with you. So what would be some resources or some tips so people can kind of grow their engagement and grow their audience base?
For engagement, for me, I love engaging with my audience, like just having conversations. For me, I genuinely want to see people succeed, and I cannot help you succeed unless I know who you are and what you need from me. So I'm always having conversations with people, which means I'm always asking questions, and then I'm always listening. So I think a lot of the times people aren't getting engagement because they're just talking about stuff. They're just talking about themselves. They're not necessarily telling a story. They're not asking their audience questions. Like, if you want people to talk to you, you need to ask them a question that they can actually give you a response to. So I think people just need to focus on learning how to story tell and connect with their audience, and then asking questions that will get their audience thinking and responding.
I love that. That's very concrete and actionable. And as you say, this industry, the information industry, the consulting industry, coaching industry, it has a lot of people that maybe mean misleading. Like, they have these outrageous, oh, I made $100,000 in 30 days with this. I did that. So how for our audience, because like I said, we're on these webinars, we're searching these blogs, we're reading these ebooks, and we're just saying, okay, how can we tell the real from the fake, who we should trust with our money, with our time, and looking at their stuff? Or they're not just selling me stuff, or they're not just giving these webinars that they have done 1,000 times and just re-recording and making it look live. Like, how do you tell because you've seen it all. Because I mean, when I first started getting in the speaking space, everybody is an expert in getting paid to speak and expert in doing this. And I spent almost, luckily, I'm a practitioner, but I spent almost a year on these webinars, on these calls, on all this stuff by all these experts. And then I'm looking at their engagement online. I'm looking at, okay, where are they actually speaking at? And I'm like,
right.
So how do you tell the real from the fake in the online space, where all you need to do is write a tagline?
You definitely have to be smart. You have to, again, it's all about being educated. Like, if you're just giving people money because they say they're an expert, that's on you. Like, again, comes back to blogging, comes back to content marketing. If you're not able to tell me how to do something for free, then you're definitely not able to tell me how to do it for money.
Ooh, that's quotable right there.
That's a tweetable.
I love that. I love that. And I want to talk about this too, because I know you've probably have seen it all, working with different clients and working with different entrepreneurs, bloggers, whatever, creatives. What are some of the top, like, if you had to say top mistakes that you see, and maybe things that people aren't thinking about how they can fix them?
Oh man. So going back to content marketing, I literally just talked about this on a webinar, which was actually live and not pre-recorded. I was saying that the biggest mistake is that people, again, are trying to sell stuff without having content to back it up. And the example that I gave was, you're trying to sell me a package that says I can lose 20 pounds in 5 weeks, but you don't have one blog post on fitness or health or weight loss. So it's just like, how do you really want people to trust you? I think people believe in the quote, if you build it, they will come. And that is not true. You have to build it, and then you have to promote it, and then you have to back it up.
Yeah. But how long do you, like, how many blog, like, there's no formula strategy. You just need to kind of test it out to see, as far as that expertise, because building an online course, like, because sometimes, and I think about it, like, because I know you have experience building online courses. I mean, it seems like it takes a lot of wealth information, a lot of time. Like, how was building your first online course?
Oh my gosh, building my first online course took me so long. And honestly, I sold it before it was even finished, and I was adding as people were going, because a lot of times when people take online courses, it takes them a lot of time to get through the information just because there's so much. But building my online course was definitely like a learning experience. What I learned is that a lot of times when you start out building online courses, is that the information that you give is way too general. So when I started my online course, it was like, how to set up your blog, how to design your blog, how to get an audience. And it was like, usually if somebody goes to your sales page and they see that you're giving all this stuff, people don't want more information. They want specific information. So if somebody looks at the list of modules I have, and I have 8 modules, and they think they can only benefit from 2, then I'm probably going to miss out on that sale. Whereas I could have just made it a very specific course on like how to grow your blog audience, instead of that just being one module of a very broad course. So I think it's just really important to be specific, and you're probably going to be able to cut down a lot of the information, but it's actually going to be more valuable.
Yeah. And on that note, because I know just yesterday I had a friend that was really frustrated. They've been in the game, I think, almost a year, and they're creating a lot of content, but they're like, man, Greg, nobody's coming to my site with a whoop. And I mean, I had gave him some advice, but I said, I'm not really and there's a lot of blogs out there, but I know you talk about it all the time, and I've read your blog about different strategies, lead-ins to kind of grow an email list and to get more views on the site. But what would you say to these young professionals or people that are working on different projects, but they're just not getting the traction they think. And they're putting out content because I think you said it's clear. People are working hard out there, like working hard, putting out content, putting their life out there. They're talking about some deep stuff in this stuff. It's not just no fluff stuff. So what advice do you have those people that are on the edge? Like, okay, I've been in this blogging space and I'm not getting nothing.
Yeah. So one thing I think that maybe people are doing is like, they want there to be like an end point. There's no like end game necessarily when it comes to blogging. Like, okay, I got these 10 blog posts up. Where are the results? Like, it's just, you have to keep going. You have to keep going. And it's not like I wrote 10 posts about branding, I am an expert now. Like, it doesn't work like that. You just write about what you know, you engage with people, and you promote the crap out of your blog. And I think a lot of people are just so afraid of spamming, which I totally get, because there's some people that promote, quote unquote, and they're really just spamming. But what you have to do is invite people to consume your content. So if somebody is following your platform, they want your information, and you're doing them a disservice if you're not sending them to your blog, if you truly believe that what you are saying is valuable. If somebody wants to know about your stuff, they will sign up for your email list. So really the difference also between like promoting and spamming is if somebody is on your platform looking for that information versus you hopping in somebody's space without permission, like hopping in somebody's DMs, hopping in somebody's comment section, hopping in somebody's mentions, like, hey, go check out my new blog. And another thing is that people are not articulating their value. This is so hard for new creatives because in our minds, we know how valuable we are. We know how important our blog post is and how great it is. But these headlines that we're creating, these captions that we are creating, these little blurbs that we're creating for social media, they're just not enticing. You telling me that you have a new blog post up literally does nothing for me. But if you telling me that you have a new blog post up on 5 ways you can jump your weight loss journey when you've been struggling to lose the last 10 pounds, that is so specific, and it's something that I want to read. You have to be specific. You have to be valuable. I need to know how this is going to benefit me. At the end of the day, you need your audience is asking, what's in it for me? And if you cannot answer that question clearly and articulate it in a short and concise manner, they do not care.
That's harsh advice, but I love it. And now, okay, you have this wealth of knowledge in your head through all these years of experience, but you open this door. When you go through this door, the person that's your new coaching client is yourself 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. What do you tell her? If you just had like 10, 20 minutes to just give her all advice, what would be the top things you tell her about that? And I know that's a loaded question, but I always like try to pick the brain of our audience. Like, what would you tell yourself 5, 7 years ago?
What would I tell myself?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I would tell myself to be more careful about the things maybe that I post on the internet. I would tell myself to, what's some other mistakes that I've made? Be very specific in who I want to work with. I would tell myself, don't undercharge yourself. Don't work with people that are annoying because that's a headache and it ends up being a waste of money. What's some really good advice? And I'm trying to think back, like, man, thinking back 7 years ago, like that's so long.
Yeah.
I would tell myself to read more, exercise more, because I'm like so into people that are really good at fitness, because I just think that takes such like a high level of like mental capacity that you can pretty much put in every other aspect of your life. I'd probably tell myself to work out more, get into a consistent routine. Because I think like if I knew what I knew now, like even just 2 years ago, I could probably like triple my business or quadruple my business. So probably getting more so into a routine and just being very, very disciplined.
I love that. That's where you would tripled your business if you know what you know now.
Oh my gosh, I definitely would. I absolutely would. I'd be putting in those I mean, because when you're ahead of the game, you're ahead of the game. So if I'm 2 years ahead of the game and implementing the strategies that nobody else knows about, I'd be out here.
So where are the strategies nobody else about this shit?
I can actually tell you some strategies that one of my colleagues and I were just talking about, which is completely random. So as course creators, we're kind of really thinking that doing online memberships is kind of the way to go because we are in the age of information. People are just so tired of all of this information. They have access to all of these blog posts, all of these ebooks, all of these workbooks, all of these webinars, and their brain is just like, listen, I don't need any more information. I need somebody to hold my hand and make sure I actually apply this stuff. And I feel like doing an online membership that has a community and has somebody that's like moderating the membership and helping them navigate all of this information is definitely the way to go. Like me specifically, like I had this course called Master Your Market, which was like my high premium course. And I loved the information inside, but I was like looking at my students and kind of looking at the percentage of people that were getting results. And everybody in the course was like, wow, this information is so good. But a lot of people weren't applying it. And it's not necessarily because they're lazy, but if, you know, you're not a self-starter in business, you probably need a coach. So that like I transitioned it into making a coaching program because I was like, people need that accountability. So if you're thinking about creating an online course, consider turning it into an online membership. Number one, because you have people that will be with you long-term. So that's consistent money coming in for you and they're going to get better results, which is also a good look for you because you'll have better testimonials.
Oh, that's fantastic. And my question to that is though, what is it wrong if you start an online community and you first start out, maybe you only have 10 to 20 people? Is that, what's your take on that?
No, I think that's totally fine. And because I never really believe that more is better, especially when it comes to people and information. Like for me, I've always wanted like courses that had like 1,000 people in them, but I'm realizing that I work better with people one-on-one and in small groups. Like if I have a workshop and only 8 people show up, we get more done anyway because we don't have a million voices. So if you have a membership with 20 people, that's a really good, solid membership. People are probably going to get better results. And again, starting out, you'll have great testimonials as you grow.
I love that because I think sometimes and you're hitting on this great point. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we feel as if we like when we launch a summit or a conference, or first of all, we always start with summit and conferences, like even the small workshops. If we have 4 or 5 people, like, oh man, if I put a picture online, like people gonna be like, oh man, people are not showing up, whatever. But you charge your worth and whatnot and have that. I think that you can get a lot bigger value, like you said, a lot bigger value add and be able to be more intentional with those people and have them have amazing results rather than having 20 people have average results and then they never come back, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like once you let go of your ego and you really focus on your purpose and how you're meant to serve people, those numbers really aren't going to phase you that much.
I guess this transition into present day and kind of you and your business, because I know last year has been phenomenal for you. So, and before, actually, yeah, with that, did you have to do a certain rebrand of yourself and when you made that transition? And because I know a lot of people here are in certain situations where they're rebranding, they're trying to change kind of the perception that people have of them or change where they're going in their business. So you may be the person to go to as far as talking about the art of rebranding.
I don't think that I necessarily rebranded. I think that I just matured my branding a little bit because I'm still the same person. What happened was, honestly, is that since I'm so big on storytelling, I've always told my story with my audience. So even though I went from Maya, the amateur freelancer, to now Maya, the branding expert, people that have rocked with me since 2008 still rock with me in 2016 because I didn't try to change who I was. I was just maturing and allowing people to take that journey with me. So it wasn't like, oh, let me do this huge rebrand, shut down my site for 3 weeks and relaunch it again. It was just like, hey y'all, it's still Maya. I'm growing. I'm transitioning into this. Here's a couple of new colors, a couple of new photos. Bam.
So if you did an analysis of your businesses, what would you say maybe the top strengths that you bring as a coach, as a creator, as a change agent, and what would you honestly say maybe one area where you can kind of take it to the next level in?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think my best quality, I guess, as a coach is that I really just enjoy the teaching aspect of it and making sure people are getting results. So I think maybe just finding a way to just stay connected with my audience is just most important to me. Like if you're not getting results, you're not feeling happy about your business, then I feel like there might be something that I need to be working on better as a coach or a course facilitator. So just making sure that I'm staying connected to my audience and not really losing sight of what's important.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think is that area where it's like, I can probably take it to the next level? I know you're planning on change, but like, what is it? What do you think is that area?
Man, these are some tough questions.
You try to dodge it. I was like, let me.
I know. Okay, let's see. Okay, so what area? Gosh, Greg, I don't know. All right, give me like an example because maybe I'm not understanding the question right.
Okay, like I know in my area, I need to, and I'm working towards it, but I need to, first of all, charge what I'm consistently charge, what I'm worth, and then monetize certain aspects because I've been building a foundation of different things as far as speaking, podcasting, blogging, just building stuff over the last couple years. But I really haven't made any strides about me creating products or live events and whatnot. So it's in a pipeline for me to level up and really stop treating things like a hobby. I'm getting off on natural talent right now. So, like that's God given, like we getting gigs just because we doing that. But I know that natural talent is not going to suffice in 4 or 5 years. I'm not going to have the same engine. I'm not going to have the same market that needs my services. I'm going to have to transition different markets. So being more intentional about, my how much I charge, my time, like my time. I read a couple of your posts, and the biggest thing, one of the things I took out is a lot of time my time is getting spent because I forgot which post it was, but you know, when you hit a certain level of success, not to say I'm nowhere near like a expert or like one of the top guys in my field, but I've hit a certain point where people there's higher expectations for what you need to do. And more people want more of your time or want this, want that. So just juggling that whole thing when I'm still trying to take it to the next level.
Right.
And I'm not the guru. People come to me like I'm the guru. And I'm like, yo, like, no, I need that time to be taken to the next level so I can give you the blueprint.
Yeah. Well, first, don't discredit yourself. Don't give a disclaimer just because you want to charge more money or say things like, well, I'm not really an expert. I'm not really a guru. And I don't even mean to put you on the spot, but I do hear people saying that a lot. And I'm like, you don't need to give a disclaimer or discredit yourself before you try to tell people why you're valuable. But I do appreciate that example because I know, thinking about it now, exactly what I need to do. And for me, it's speaking more in churches. And that's something that was really important to me. Just talking a lot about purpose. So something that's really important to me is I feel like a lot of people in the church, they think of money and products and helping people like the moment you charge for something, it's no longer genuine and it's no longer authentic. And I really want to be able to change that mindset. And so I have this master class called Purpose and Profit, and just talking about how you can profit from your God-given purpose. Mm-hmm. And I really want to be able to take that in churches, and I have not been intentional enough about that. So if there's one area where I need to step my game up, it needs to be that. Like I've taken like preliminary action, like working with a coach that is, very familiar with the word and helping me just understand how to infuse the word in my business a little bit more. But actually creating that package and approaching churches is something that I need to move forward with.
Yeah. And I got a question. I want to circle back into that masterclass portion our mastermind group portion, because I think a lot of audience could benefit from just getting into that space. But my question too, and the reason why I say I didn't want to put myself as a guru, because a lot of times, and I'm still getting over this, when you're in a space where your point of living is public, like you blog or you speak, you're in the public a lot. Not you, or not people in general, but I speak for myself. Sometimes I don't want to come off as like too arrogant or cocky, so I dehumanize everything. I don't accept compliments. I don't anything. It's like, because I don't want people to be like this. So I'm like, no, I'm not this. So how have you found your balance? Because like what you do is when you snap or when you're traveling, giving these workshops and doing all this other stuff, that balance between knowing, not discrediting yourself, but also keeping that air, because it's really hard in this age where, especially when you're very transparent about different things and people see you in all these lights. I always want people to realize that I'm real. Like, I don't want to be, I see a lot of speakers, they get in the hype, and then all they quote is, all they tweet about is quotes, and everything they write about is like, oh, this is this. If you don't sleep at all, then this is the only way you're going to succeed and all that stuff. I'm like, bro, that's not really you, dog. I know you, bro.
Right.
Like, I know you. Like, stop playing. And I said, that's when I got into this game. I said, I will never be that guy that's like, oh, Greg is smiling. He's like, no. I want to be real, bring some realness to this industry. And that's kind of my selling point. But I know, and it's kind of also held me back a little bit. So how you deal with that? Cause cats. I'm like, bruh, no, dog. I know you, man.
I'm cracking up because I know people like that too, and I'm just like, girl, stop lying. Because I'm definitely not the type of person that's like, you need to do this in order to succeed. Like, I hate that, because for so long I was told that I had to graduate college to succeed. So I hate being that authoritative figure that says you have to do this, this, and this. So again, for me, it always comes back to, I know what I know, and I'm very confident in that, but I also don't know what I don't know. And I think being transparent about what areas that I'm not very well versed in, that's what people connect with. Like, a lot of people connect with the Maya that goes to the gym 4 times a week one week, and then she goes to the gym once in another week. Like, people really connect to the other aspects of my brand. So people aren't like turned off by me because I consider myself an expert and I consider myself one of the best personal branding strategists, because I'm confident in that. But it comes back to telling your story. What are the other aspects of Maya that people can connect to outside of just the expert?
I love that. And to circle back into that masterclass, like when did you first started getting in to masterclass, and then what would you say to your audience? Because do you have a mastermind group right now that you host primarily, or?
No, so I don't have a mastermind group that I host. I just have the coaching program that I'm going to be launching, which I'll have like a certain amount of people in there, and they'll get coaching from me for 6 months. But the masterclass, which is just something that I would teach live and then sell pre-recorded, I got into that probably a year ago. So I sold my first masterclass, actually, I think maybe like last June or July, which was really, really exciting. But I just felt like I had a message that I wanted to send out, and I wanted to do it live and then be able to sell a recorded version. And so I sold it. I created it, and then I told people about it. And that's kind of how I got into it. I feel like that's kind of how I get into everything. I'm like, I have something that I feel is important. I'm going to do it. Then I'm going to tell people about it. That's pretty much the cycle.
That's a great cycle to have. And before we get into the future round, I want to ask how, because I know that you collaborate with a lot of different individuals in your field, and I love that, because sometimes when we're starting off, either we isolate ourselves because we're like, that's competition, or I don't want to do a guest post on this, or I don't want to collaborate with anybody because I think I'm just this sweet in this arena. So what is your mindset about good partnerships? Because I know you've had your fair share of partnerships that didn't kind of wane out and whatnot, but what's your mindset about collaboration and being a part of community and helping the community, and not always have like that, how am I benefiting off? I mean, of course you need to have that, but like, what's your mindset on that?
For me, my mindset on collaboration, like, I've always looked at people and been like, oh, I can be as good as them.
Always. So everybody says that.
Oh, really? Yeah. So I think that's a really important mindset to have, to be completely honest. Like, I think a lot of people are scared of collaboration because they think they're not good enough. And I'm like, well, first of all, you need to start believing that you are good enough, and then reach out to people that you think you can make magic with. So my mindset has always either been, I'm as good as this person, or I can build myself up to be as good as this person. And then I put in the work to where I feel like I'm valuable. And then I reach out to them in a way like, how can I serve their brand? How can I serve their audience? Because I think another mistake with collaborations is that people only think about the benefit for themselves rather than how are you benefiting this person by using their time for this collaboration. So that's honestly really what my mindset is. And I don't really think a lot of people as my competition, because again, I know what I know and they know what they know. And nobody can really discredit what I know just because of what they know.
I like that. I think you, and this might be redundant, but I know you spoke on it just then, but I know, all right, and everybody in their career, they have whatever level you're at, you have people that are I wouldn't say superiors, but hey, the people that are a little bit farther along than you.
Yeah.
And then there's people that are not behind you. Yeah, I'm always trying to be conscientious, but are behind you, not where you're at. So what strategy do you do to reach out to people that are ahead of you to add value? And then what strategy do you to still serve those people that may trying to get to where you're at, but you can't spend your whole day telling people how to launch a blog? Like, I know, because you create, and I know in my head, I know what the answer, but I just want to kind of create that, because there's some people that are listening that are like, yo, I know I want to start reaching out to this, but I know to other people that can push me, take me to the next level that I probably can help. But I have other people that want my services or want my advice for free or whatnot, and I still want to give it to them, and I don't know how to balance that.
Oh, that is such a great question. So for the people that are, I guess, more ahead of me, but I want to collaborate, I always build the relationship first, because it's not always just about, like you said, who can help me? How can I help them? It's about like, are you guys even able to create magic together? And you don't really know that until you get to know a person. Like, just because two businesses are complementary doesn't mean that they're going to go well together. So I always start with trying to build a relationship. And I usually use social media as like my initial relationship building platform. I'll have conversations with them. I'll engage with them. I'll support them. I'll retweet them. I'll share their stuff. And they start noticing that. People notice when you support them. And then you can reach out to them and then say something specific about what you like about them without even asking them for anything. Like, hey, so-and-so, just read your blog post on XYZ. I really love these 3 points that you made. It's really helped me think differently about how I approach X. Just wanted to reach out and tell you thank you for all of the amazing content that you put out. XOXO, however you sign your name. And leave it at that. Let people know that they are valuable to you, that you support them, that you appreciate them, and start building that relationship. Then once you realize pretty much what their end goal is and how you can support that end goal, then reach out again and say something like, hey, I've really been, after consuming your content or after following you and connecting with you for these last couple of months, I really wanted to connect with you to see if you'd be interested in doing a collaboration on XYZ. I really think this can benefit both of us in these specific ways. Would love to see if you'd like to hop on a call. So I think that's definitely
right there.
Oh, good. Thank you. So I hope that does help people, because I think people are just kind of like scared to try to build that relationship, and it takes time. Like, you don't just send out a tweet and then bam, you have a collaboration. Like, build that relationship, take the time to nurture that relationship. Now, for people that are not quite where you are and they reach out to you or they want to work with you, again, it comes back to creating that content. And I'm always telling people this, like, there are so many people that cannot afford to work with me one-on-one, which makes sense. Like, I completely get it, because I work with people in their 20s and not everybody just has $1,000 laying around to have a conversation. But that's why I also have masterclasses. That's why I have webinars. That's why I have blog posts. So if you come to me and say, hey, Maya, I'd really love to work with you, but I can't afford you at this level, I'm not going to reduce my pricing for you when I have blog posts on this specific topic that you're asking me about. I'm going to send you to a blog post, or I'm going to send you to a $25 ebook that I already have on this topic.
Yeah. So I guess it's kind of, it should be used if you are at a certain level and it's like people are reaching out to you certain things, like, it should be used as a gift. That means, hey, create that product so we can immediately refer people to that, instead of being like, and that's why I had to smack myself in the face. People ask me the same questions, and I looked at my blog and said, Greg, people write with your blog, but you talk about a lot of other stuff. It's like, you share some other stuff that people can really, if people are asking that same questions. That's freaking phenomenal advice. And with that being said, though, how do you manage your time, though? Because as an online entrepreneur, and I know you probably hire out people to do work with sale or customer service, but I know you're doing a lot. Creating blogs, running businesses, master courses, traveling. Those are a lot of different mediums. So how as a online entrepreneur, because you are in front of the screen 15, 16, 18 hours a day, how do you manage time? Like, or does time just get away? Because I know some days you wake up like it's already Friday. Like, what the world.
Oh my gosh. I literally never know what day it is. And it's so embarrassing. Like, I'll be like, wait, is it Tuesday? And people are like, girl, it's definitely Friday evening. But the thing, and it's funny, like, people are always like, how do you do all of those things? And to be honest, I don't do all of these things at one time. Like, I do a lot of things, but I don't do it all at once. And so I have different seasons in my business. Whereas I was just doing all of these workshops, I was not doing a lot of things online. Now that I'm about to focus launching this online program, I'm not going to be doing as much traveling. So, I mean, it even comes back to like when I said I needed to drop out of college because I needed to focus on my business. I am not very good at focusing. So I have to stick to one thing that I'm going to do very well in and focus on that. I can't try to travel and then do webinars and then write a million blog posts and then all of these different things. I decide, okay, what do I want for this season of my business? How am I going to execute on it?
I love that. So you break it down into seasons and then kind of go from there, right?
Yep.
So as far as the future round, what's next for you in 2016?
2016. Man, it's 2016 is almost over, I feel like.
I know. It's like what's next for you next couple months? Because no, matter of fact, boom. Better question, what's next for you in 2017? Because 2016 is like, you got these last 4 months, and if you ain't started on it, it's like, it's going to be hard to kind of promote and get it where it need to go right now.
Oh man, 2017, if I really stick to it, I would love to have 2 books published and speaking in churches more. Honestly, that would make me so happy if that's what happened in 2017. So pretty much just got to be putting in the work for it now. Probably the rest of 2016, I'm going to be focused on the people inside of my coaching program. 2017, going to work on trying to finish these books and getting into churches.
I love that. Focus on kind of who's already in that tribe. Getting those. So you're trying to publish 2 books, or you already published a book, or you just?
I'm trying to publish 2. I started one, and then I was like, I think I need to learn a little bit more before trying to finish this book. I was still like in a growing season, and I was like, let me kind of just put this to the side. And then I started writing a second book that I was like, I really know the information on this, so I want to get both of them out.
Okay. That sounds phenomenal. And another question about the future: what are some things that you do personally to maintain your edge and to still stay relevant in an industry where it's so competitive? Even though, I believe it's a very competitive industry and whatnot. So what are some things you do to maintain your edge?
To be honest, I don't even know. Like I don't think sometimes that I'm as edgy or as cool as people really think. Like, I'm really just a regular person. Like, I honestly just do me. Like, it's such a cop-out response, but I just kind of just do what makes me feel good, to be completely honest. And maybe what keeps me out there is just really caring about the people that follow my brand and want to learn and just having conversations with them.
Nah, I think that's honestly the perfect answer, because at the end of the day, the more of yourself you become, the more you know yourself, the better person you become. Because you can stay on top of every trend. You can say, I need to do this, I need to do that, be strategic and all that stuff. But sometimes that can take you farther away than who you really are and the audience you're really meant to serve. So,
oh my gosh, yeah.
I love that. I love that. And where do you see and I think you talked about this earlier, and I'm glad you talked about it as far as the subscription based services, because as you've seen, the $1 Shave Club just sold for $1 billion, and now there's a lot of subscription based, like you said, helps with income, and then it makes you be more intentional and really build your own community and tribe. But where do you see the future going in information products and this online coaching space and whatnot?
Oh man, I think it's just only going to get bigger. It's only going to get more cluttered. So number one, now is the time to get in, to feel really confident and to be very clear on your story and what it is that you want to do. Because people are always trying to figure out, how can I stand out in this saturated market? To be honest, the best way to stand out is to know who you are, know what makes you different. What makes you different is your story. Once you're really clear on your story, that's how you understand what you want to teach and who you want to teach.
Can't say that any better. And the last question in the future round: when is all said and done, how do you want to be remembered?
When it's all said and done, I want to actually be remembered how people think of me now. People think of Maya Elious as somebody that's that's always willing to give information, whether it's free, whether it's paid, and somebody that they can relate to. I always want to be somebody that's relatable. Like, I really love that people look up to me, but also feel like I'm approachable.
I love that. That's another groundbreaking answer right there. Like how I like the way you think about that, because sometimes we have these grandiose, like, I want to be this, I want to be that, but at the end of the day, it's like you never know what's going to happen. So I'm glad you're setting that precipice. Like, yeah, I just want people to know who I am now. Like, I like it. So, all right, we're going to the culture change round. I asked 5 rapid fire questions, and you can kind of answer how you feel. All right.
Oh my gosh, this is harder than college, Greg.
Oh yeah, I know. It's a lot, but I try to stick to the script. All right. What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Best piece of advice I've ever received: don't settle.
What do you do to maintain? No, that's not it. What is your top online resource that you use every day?
Google Drive.
Google Drive. I don't like Google Drive, but
I love it. I thought I wasn't going to, but it's great, especially when you have a team.
Yeah. I guess there's all these other apps, but those apps are complex. Like there's a lot of team sharing apps, but Google Drive really kind of does the same thing.
Oh, and Asana, because that's how I can delegate. So
what is Asana? I've heard about Michael Hyatt talked about Asana. I know a lot of other people in the online space talk about Asana. What is Asana?
Asana is basically just like a delegating tool for me, at least. So you pretty much just create checklists for different products, and you can assign different tasks to different people. So it's even good if you don't have a team yet, because this can really just kind of keep you on track. It can help you create processes and systems in your business. So if you know that the process for writing a blog post is researching the topic, looking for a photo, writing the blog post, proofreading it, you want to write down each of those tasks and assign it to yourself with a due date. So those are some of the things you can do in Asana. And then obviously, if you have a team, you can assign it to the person on your team and kind of just follow up with them, make sure that they're getting it done, and have conversations through there instead of like conversations through email back and forth all day.
Perfect. What is your favorite book and why?
Oh man, favorite book. One book that I really like that I read fairly recently is called Your Money Counts. His name is Howard Dayton, and it's just basically a biblical guide to earning, spending, and saving money and getting out of debt.
I love that. I'm about to check that out. Check it out.
Cool.
If you had to be an animal, what would you be and why? I'm playing. I
was literally about to say I'm about to fight you.
But this next question is real though. If you were the president of the United States, what's the first thing you would do?
Oh man, if I was the president of the United States, I would see how much access to money I had, and then see what all the problems were, and then figure out how I can fix those problems with the money.
Oh, it sounds simple. I know every president, they go into office and they said, "Oh, let's do this," and then it just gets crazy. So
yeah, too many problems in this world for one man to fix.
Yeah, it is. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
So, that wraps up everything. And as we always do it, I call myself the culture change agent. And I always try to stay at least a little sociably woke. And I do have this last question that we have all our audience member ask, and then we wrap up the show is, if you could change one thing about society, most specifically our African American culture, what would it be and why?
One thing that I would change as far as like African Americans and trying to put themselves out as business owners is that you can be yourself. You can be as Black as you want, because Black is not a bad thing. I think like a lot of times when people are trying to like frame themselves as professional, you see like all of these stock photos that don't really speak to like what they really are. You see all these white folks in their stock photos, and I'm like, girl, now you don't even know any white folks that look like that, let alone have conversations or clients like that. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be Black.
I love that. And even with the people that have photos, I guess, of themselves, I mean, it's not, you've never seen them in a suit, and now they have suits and smiling, or you've never seen them at a cocktail lounge, and now they're having drinks with friends at a cocktail lounge. And you're like, dog, where'd you get this setting from? Like you
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you could be yourself. Like I can talk about how fleeky my eyebrows are, and I could still charge somebody $1,400 for a coaching session. It's just like be you. The right people will be attracted to it and pay you for being yourself.
Yep, but as long as you're an expert. Like you can be you. Like there's a lot of people being them, but they not experts and it don't translate. So don't make it look easy. I'm gonna put the link to your post about making it look easy and what it really looks like because yeah, like it's not she is painting that picture like, oh, we can talk about eyebrows fleeky because you have 7 to 10 years, almost a decade of knowledge and branding, website development, all this other stuff. But let me go up there and talk about my eyebrows and see how people want to book me for $100 sessions.
I'm so done with you. I mean, but to be fair, if you think about it, I've definitely been doing figuring out entrepreneurship now for 7-8 years, but like coaching, I've only been doing for maybe 2 years. So, I mean, I've been building my brand for all of these 8 years, but you're right though. Yes. Link that blog post because I don't like, sometimes I like making it seem easy because I don't want people to be afraid to start, but then I don't like it. But then I don't like making it seem easy because I don't want people to feel like they don't have to put in work.
Hey, Maya, it's been a fantastic episode. I know you have shared many jewels, many things, but most importantly, I know online you have a lot more resources and a lot bigger, a crazy treasure chest of products, of blogs, of things that can address so many different things we touched on today in more depth. So could you share with our audience where we can find you at online and where we can support you or where all that good stuff?
Yeah. Honestly, if you follow me on Twitter at Maya Elious, that's where you will be able to have conversations with me. You can ask me questions. You will figure out everything that I have going on. And I also have a Facebook group for content creators that want to create clear and strategic and purposeful content. So if you go to bit.ly/content club, you can connect with me and my community on there as well.
All right. So with that being said, Minority Trailblazer Nation, we just want to say thank you, Miss Maya, for taking well over an hour of your time to just give us basically all the free coaching sessions. So I thank you for your time and everything that you've given us so far.
Thanks so much for having me, Greg. I appreciate it. This was fun.
Phenomenal, man. Thank you again, Maya. So, Minority Trailblazer Nations, I got a couple of things I want to share, and then we out. First and foremost, for those that love what Maya had to share and want to dig a little deeper, she actually has a course online, and you can visit it at masteryourmarket.co. Masteryourmarket.co. Online coaching sessions where she walks you through how to start that blog. She walks you through how to create your first course on online product. And she walks you through how to master your market. So make sure you pay attention to that. My iPhone listeners, if you haven't already, please take a couple seconds and leave a review. If you don't know how, you can go to GregEhill.com and /MT podcast and find out how. It only takes about a minute and I would definitely appreciate it. Also, share with your friend. Please share with your friend. We have 39. If this is your first episode, we have 39 others that are phenomenal with great guests. So please make sure you tune in. If you're listening via SoundCloud or Stitcher, leave us a rating or whatnot. SoundCloud, follow us so you can be updated on the next podcast. All right. And then what else? Oh, my last thing. I need you to do one thing and one thing only. And if you're new to this episode, it's going to be unfamiliar. And if you haven't, you already know what it is. Remember you're a genius and change the culture. Good night.